Another week, another win for the Georgia Bulldogs, still ranked number one. And number one on my list are DJ Shockley and Russ Tanner. And we're here to talk about Georgia and Vanderbilt this week. And guys, right up front, let's start with something easy. Vanderbilt's got construction going on at their stadium. So their already small capacity has been reduced even more to about 28,005.
Wow.
Now, I'm guessing most of that's going to be filled with Georgia fans on Saturday at noon when we kick off. How do you adjust as a player? How do you adjust from going from 93,000 on a regular basis, just about, raucous environment, to a very quiet and solemn 28,000, if it's even that?
I think you got to find a way to bring your own juice because that's the biggest thing because it's not going to be as loud as it used to be in Sanford. It's not even as loud as, the last time you go on the road, nowhere near that. So it's one of those type of games where you got to find a way to get up because especially with it being early and then the crowd not being really what you thought it would be, is you kind of feel like a big scrimmage kind of always. But I think at the end of the day, once the ball is kicked off and you got an assignment, you kind of forget about the crowd. Even, I remember playing in big stadiums and it was loud, it was raucous, it was crazy. But once you got on the field and you had assignments, you had to worry about guys blitzing, you got to worry about calls, checks, all that kind of stuff. You kind of forget about the crowd anyway. So for me, it wasn't that big of a deal. I remember playing at Vandy a number of times and obviously seeing none but red. But I think the biggest thing, you got to find a way to get it going. And then once the ball is kicked off and you're playing, it's about making sure you're doing the best thing for your side of the ball or, your position. So you're not the reason why something bad does happen if it happens.
Yeah, I mean, we have been a part of some games in Vandy where it just feels heavy. It's just like there's a fog on the field, and they blow that big horn. And wah, wah. I mean, just nothing about their stadium gives you juice. The locker room is one of the worst we go to in the SEC. At least it was when we played. Maybe they've upgraded it now, but it just wasn't a great environment. There was never a lot of noise. Our fans outnumber theirs. And like you said, this year, it's an active construction site. I cracked up. I saw on Twitter a few weeks ago. They had crews actually working during a game. Like there's guys right over the fence screwing stuff in, cutting concrete, all this stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's part of the Vandy strategy to make sure it kind of throws you off mentally because, you go to Jordan Hare Stadium, Auburn, it's rocking, it's violent. You come into Sanford Stadium, undefeated Kentucky, playing undefeated number one ranked Georgia at home. I mean, that environment gets your blood flowing. At Vandy, people are asking for something to inject in their veins because the crowd ain't giving it to you. So you're trying to get something to get a little bit of juice, like Shock said. So hopefully this team's mature enough to bring their own juice.
The popular question when this week comes up from reporters and such, I didn't ask you, by the way, but it's, are you concerned about a letdown? Well, the last 2 years after Vanderbilt canceled during the COVID season, three times, we never played that game, kind of left us hanging for that last game of the regular season. Georgia has shut out Vanderbilt 117-0 in the last 2 games. I don't think there's a letdown with this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's something there or if it's just a matter of where our program's at versus theirs. But we certainly put it on the last couple of years, and here's to 3 or 4 in a row of that.
I love the fact, and I love the score about it being 117-0 because it defeats the entire conversation of is there a letdown? And when you come out and you don't allow a team to score in the past couple of years, and you put up 3, triple digit in points, that just tells you, okay, they're locked in, they're focused, they're taking care of their business, and it's easy. We did it when we played. That sometimes you play down to your competition, and sometimes you're just not as focused. But to hear 117-0 tells you that Kirby guarantees you. He makes sure that this team is ready to go when they step on the field.
Yeah, you see ebbs and flows during the course of the season, and there's always peaks and valleys. And last week against Kentucky, definitely a peak. Do you see this team peaking even more after that performance last week?
I think that has the team peaked? Absolutely not. I think we finally got the first glimpse of what this team can look like when they play a complete football game. Meaning the defense is getting after. You're putting Kentucky in a bad situation. Carson Beck is on fire. Brock Bowers you actually run the ball. Kendall Milton looked good. You're starting to have these pieces back for Georgia that gives you a glimpse of what we all hope this team can be, a team that has a chance to win 3 in a row. So you hope that's just the beginning of the trajectory, right? Because, by the way, we've got to be a lot better down the stretch than we've been to this point of the season, because Tennessee's going to be a tough game, always is. Missouri's going to be a tough game, always is. And then, boy, that Ole Miss game right now between the hedges in November, coming off the heels of Georgia, Florida. I mean, it's going to be a tough stretch here. So this team's trajectory needs to continue up. They need to build off of the momentum of this past week. Carson Beck needs to continue to lead the team like he did, get pressure on the other team's quarterback like we saw against Kentucky. So hopefully it's just the first scratch of that great surface for this team.
Yeah, I agree, Russ. I don't think you have peaked yet. I think you're starting to figure some things out, though. I think offensively, you are starting to understand which guys you can depend on for certain spots. And there were a lot of guys making plays all over the field last week. You saw Carson probably be his most confident inside the pocket, distributing the football. I thought to score on every possession in the first half versus the number 5 team in the country, or the team that's coming in there that's played really well, that's making a statement. And to see that team hit that kind of peak in that ball game was really fun to watch. And a lot of people want to see Carson throw the ball down the field. They want to see the dog stretch the field. And I thought they did a great job of that. Defensively, they came in with a guy who rushed for 280 yards in a ball game, and you holding the 50 yards. I mean, there's just things that you don't, kind of prepare for, because when you're on the outside looking in, you're like, man, it's going to be a tough task. But on both sides of the ball, you did what you're supposed to. Special teams did as well. Woodring, the freshman, is, co-freshman of the week. That tells you how good he's been. Carson got, SEC co-player of the week. So it's fun to see this team go out and have that kind of performance. But now I think you just have to consistently do it week in and week out.
Vanderbilt started 2-0, and they've since lost 5 straight. They've made a quarterback change. They've gone from A.J. Swan to Ken Seals. He started the last 2 games. They've got some injuries in their secondary on defense. What do they offer against the number 1 team in the country? What do you guys think?
It's going to be tough sled. I mean, obviously, when you change quarterbacks, that tells you're looking for something different. The things before you just are not working. This is going to be one of those type of games that we've seen over the past couple of weeks where teams try any and everything to try to create yards, let alone points. Just create yards to get on this defense, because it's going to be so hard to move the football because of just the talent gap. Got to be honest. I mean, with them losing so many guys, and then they're trying to figure out what their team is like, this is not a team that is, kind of threatens you in that way. I know Kirby talked this week about, they got some really, fast receivers, but the guy can't get the ball off, the O-line's not blocking for him. It's going to be hard for those guys to have any kind of success on the outside. And then I think they're going to turn on that tape and watch our offense and say, man, I don't know what covers we can play, but it better not be man, because they're going to get ate up.
Now, I haven't been there since they've started on the construction, at least for football. But what I'm hearing is, temporary locker rooms, if anything at all, or you might have to dress in the adjoining hotel. I mean, there's all kinds of wacky stuff outside the actual game on the field. Can that affect your play when you're dealing with that kind of stuff as a visiting team?
It can definitely affect your play, because so much of how these teams come out, especially early in games, kind of the mental side of being ready to play, having yourself amped up. How's your pregame ritual going? And now you're getting ready to go out and do all your pregame stuff to get in the right mindset, so you're peaking when kickoff is happening. It's now messed up because you got to go around the caution tape. You got to watch out for the crane swinging a beam over the end of the field.
I don't think y'all have understand or realized the things you just said, because these all sound like tactics from a university. I mean, it's already tough on the field, so let's give them a little something else that looks like, yeah, we're doing some work over here, but this is really a tactic to slow these teams down. So this week, the knocking is going to be even louder. We got the number 1 team coming. Oh, yeah, everybody's working on Saturday. You're not getting off. That's what they told them.
And I think Shock said something a while ago to actual football, and not just making fun of Vandy's stadium situation for a minute. But, the danger for Georgia is, what does Vandy have to lose, right? I mean, it's like Shock when Shock tries to play golf. Like, he's not very good. So if he wants to hit the ball a long way, he's going to have Happy Gilmore and get a run and start pro hop into it. And if he connects, well, it could go good. But usually when you try something that's out of your wheelhouse, it goes bad for you. So Vandy's going to have to try something they don't normally do. And if that means they try to take a shot, well, that puts them in position to make mistakes. They're going to take risks. So it's just a matter of where's the explosion going to come from? Is it from Vandy taking shots and beating us deep, getting us with a double move, doing some kind of trick stuff? Or is it Georgia taking advantage of Vandy trying to get out of their lane and really putting them in a hole?
First off, the foolery is real. My golf game is not terrible. I haven't played in a while, so it may be a little terrible, but I can play some golf. I'm not Happy Gilmore.
I can play some mini golf. That's about it. Video golf. That's my pace. All right. Before we get out of here, let's get a Brock Bowers update. How much does Brock Bowers? How many yards does he get receiving this week? How many catches? How many touchdowns?
This might be the game where Brock has like 3 catches for like 37 yards because you don't need it. And I would love that to happen. And I would love for by halftime, he's standing beside me and we're talking about next week or talking about his new deal with, whatever NIL he's got going on. But I think you think about the first couple of ball games of the season where, you play UT Martin, you play Ball State, some teams that you would think they would go crazy on and you didn't really need Bowers. So I don't think he has a monster day. I think other guys have a bigger day because you don't have to just think about it. Sometimes a lot of the plays where we're trying to get Brock the football are design plays. They're plays that we draw up and we want to make sure that we can get the football to Brock. This might be a game where you may not just need Brock. You may need to just hold that for down the road when you play Florida or Tennessee to keep those plays kind of under wraps. But he could go for 150 again, or he could be, 45 yards and 4 catches, and Georgia's up 31-0. So we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like his line every game this year since we got past the first 2 cupcakes has been 8 catches for 157 yards and a touchdown. It seems like that's what he gets every single week. But yeah, I think Shock is right. I think this is an opportunity for Georgia to hopefully take care of business early. Get Brock. You're off next week, and then the schedule comes, right? Then the home stretch happens: Florida, Tennessee, Missouri, Ole Miss. So let's get him. I like that Shock. 3 catches, 37 yards. Give him 1 score. Pull him out, let him down the sideline. Let Oscar Dell, Miles Lucky, Pierce Spurlin, some of these young cats get in there and get a little bit of game experience because they are going to be needed down the stretch. By the way. You need some other horses to be able to step in and run a relay, run one leg of that race for you. So, I think unless he breaks a big long one this week, I don't think you're going to see him force feeding Brock the Rock all week long.
No.
3 straight games with over 100 yards in receiving. I think he's the first Georgia player in about 20 years to do that since Terrence Edwards did it a while back. Let me rephrase that last question, though, quickly, and then we'll get out of here. Does Vanderbilt's defense have the personnel to stop what Brock Bowers can do?
When Georgia's executing their game plan, and look, and if you look back at when Brock's really exploded, it correlates really close to the lad coming back and being this offense. It correlates to being healthier all over the board because those route combinations that Bobo and his team have drawn up have put us in position to give Brock the rock. And I think Carson Beck finally kind of looked at it and said, you know what, if I throw the ball anywhere close to that dude, good things are going to happen. So, no, Vandy does not have the personnel to stop Brock, and that is not a knock on Vandy. There's nobody in the country that has the personnel to stop Brock Bowers. He's going to go down as potentially the greatest tight end in the history of college football if he keeps rolling like he has so far.
Yeah, and I think you look at the other players around our offense, and you say it's going to be hard for them to stop them either. And, I mean, we got to be perfectly honest. Vandy doesn't have the same athletes that Georgia has. And, yeah, they do their best to disguise. They do their best to try to dictate what they want to do and force Georgia to maybe check it down, not have the deep plays, play from top down, and play a lot of cover 2, cover 4, whatever it be, try to keep everything in front of them. But I think ultimately Georgia will have at the disposal of anything they want, as we saw last week versus Kentucky, who had some really good athletes on the back end. And if Kentucky can do it, I'm not really feeling good about Vandy doing it. Not even thinking about covering Brock. There's no chance of that.
Nope.
Brocktober, Scott. It's Brocktober. What are we talking about?
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's great. The Dogs go for 24 in a row Saturday in Nashville. It's a noon start Eastern time, 11 Central. God, we're with you in the breakfast hour on the radio network. 7 Central, 8 Eastern. It's going to be early. But Georgia will be ready to go by the noon kickoff at beautiful Vanderbilt Stadium, or whatever the corporate name is on it these days. And we hope you can join us on Saturday. Shock and Russ, thanks as always. We'll see you guys next week. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.